So you've been pen-abled. Now what? You're over the black and blue cartridges that come with most fountain pens. And you want to venture deeper into the rabbit hole of bottled inks. But then you find there are thousands upon thousands of ink choices out there. Some have glitter. Is that okay? Worry not. Today I'm going to recommend 6 fountain pen inks that are not only beloved by the community, but serve as a great way forward for life after cartridges. Okay, before we get into the ink roadmap, let's talk about converters. So you will need a converter to use bottle inks most of the time. Some of these converters are interchangeable, like the one that comes in the Esterbrook Esty is called the International Standard Converter. And a lot of these will fit in a variety of pens. However, there are some brands like Lamy, Pilot, and Sailor that have their own proprietary converters that will only fit in their pens. Waterman is another one that has a proprietary converter, but just something to note, something to look up with the pen that you have. Some pens that are piston fillers or pens like TWSBI have their ink filling system built into the pen, so there's no converter that pops out of the pen to fill it with ink. Also good to mention that some pens come with a converter along with those cartridges, and then some pens you need to get the converter separately. So let's talk about the beginner ink roadmap. So my first recommendation, once you're done with cartridges and you want to move into bottle inks, the first one that I recommend, I don't even have a bottle of, which is crazy, but I should, is Pilot Tsukio. And as you can probably see in this sample vial, it's blue. So it's not a crazy jump from cartridges, but it will be a nice blue to fall back on. That's not the same as those typical blue cartridges that you get with pens, and it's not a ballpoint blue. You can still tell that there's something special about this ink. It's very reliable. This whole line is, but more on that later. And Pilot Tsukio is a well-loved ink color, and its performance is well-loved across the board. So today I'm going to be swatching everything with this glass stir. It's just like a glass cocktail stir, and I'm going to be doing writing samples with the Sailor Hakoto dip pen. This pen has different little attachments. This is the fine attachment, and you just pop it in there. You can dip in ink and then write to test out an ink. And I grabbed a little feed to pop in there so that the ink can last a little bit longer. But I love this thing for writing samples. So as you can see here, a super pretty, rich, navy, indigo-like blue. I'm also going to use this blotter paper. This particular one is from Esterbrook, and a blotter paper is used to keep your oils, your hand oils off the page, and to help ink dry quickly. Like if I was done here and needed to go somewhere and close the notebook right away, I can put this down, close the notebook, and keep it moving. But if you have hand oils on your page, on some paper, you will get some unexpected things happening as you write down the page. The next ink that I would recommend, I also don't have a bottle of, I need to get a bottle of. This is my second sample that I'm running through. It is Diamine Writer's Blood. So Diamine is another beloved brand, It's very affordable and the color library goes crazy. There's so many diamine colors. Writer's Blood, however, is one of the faves, not only because of the badass name, but I think it's just because it's so beautiful. It's dark and nice and wet and saturated, and it's an interesting color that's not too wild. It's a great ink to grab after Sukio. Gorgeous here. A lot of people actually stay in this darker red range and never really do super bright reds. I've been becoming a little more comfortable with going brighter with the reds, but this is still like my favorite as far as reds go, like that darker end of things. Okay, moving on from Writer's Blood, I recommend going to another diamine ink called Ancient Copper. And Ancient Copper isn't too much of a departure from Writer's Blood, but we are introducing some super subtle shading and super subtle dark brown sheen. And I'll show you exactly what both of those words mean once I get the swatch down on the page. Okay, I let this swatch dry down a little bit so I can show you the shading and the sheen. So shading is just different lightness and darkness in an ink in writing. So when an ink pools, when you lift the pen and you can see different colors, like a lighter color and then a darker color, that is shading. And you can see that quite a bit in Ancient Copper there. There's lighter oranges and darker oranges there. And we don't get that too much with Sukio or Writer's Blood, at least with this nib. This is more apparent in nibs that are thicker, your medium, your broad, your double broads. You'll see this a little bit more. And then for sheen, sheen is like a halo around where the ink pools, and it looks almost metallic. So you can kind of see that here in Sukio. It is very subtle. Kind of see that red halo around this area. That is also sheen. But in Ancient Copper, we get like a dark brown sheen. There you go. It looks a little more shiny and metallic there. So that is what you will hear quite a bit, shading, sheen, when talking about ink properties. So we're just introducing that a little bit more with Ancient Copper. We're also lightening up the hue a little bit in a way that's more obvious than Sukio or Writer's Blood, which are both quite a bit dark. So here we're just getting a little more comfortable with color ink. But again, very affordable diamine, reliable, and Ancient Copper is just a beloved ink. Okay, my next recommendation is to grab yourself a Pilot Iroshizuku ink. Sukio is one of those, but that's gonna be our basic ink. For this one, have a little fun and choose your favorite color out of this Iroshizuku line. These are widely known as super reliable, beautiful inks, and no matter what pen you're using, these will most likely, like 99% of the time, will not give you any issues. The bottles are also beautiful and sturdy, and my pick of the line today is Shinroku. As you can see, this is a beautiful emerald type green. For my next recommendation, we are going to kick up the basic blue and introduce a bit more noticeable sheen with Robert Oster Fire and Ice. This blue is a super interesting one because it is blue, but it ever so slightly leans into the teal turquoise realm, but barely. We should get some nice shading here as well. Robert Oster also, like Diamine, has a larger ink library and is quite beloved in the community as well. I do have a recent video where I swatched 35, I think, at least 35, 37, something like that, bottles of Robert Oster ink. So if you want some inspiration for ink colors, I'll leave that video for you linked up in the cards. It is gorgeous, and keep an eye on it as it dries down for some of that sheen that we'll get on some of these edges here. It will be bright red. That is the fire part of Fire and Ice. Okay, we're gonna put all of this together and add some shimmer. So shimmer is glitter that you'll see at the bottom of your ink bottle. You see that green down here at the bottom? That is shimmer. And shimmer isn't necessarily glitter, so don't like go to the craft store, get some glitter and mix it into your ink, because I don't think that's the same thing. Shimmer is made out of particles of mica, and some brands use larger particles than others in their ink formulas. With shimmer, it's important to clean your pens thoroughly. I use like a little brush to clean the feed here. I'll use a brush, like a very soft brush, and get in between those, because shimmer particles can get stuck in these little fins here and can clog up your pen. It is not impossible to use shimmer inks in a fountain pen, but you have to take cleaning into consideration here. Some people will tell you that they only put shimmer inks in medium nibs, broad nibs, and above. Some people will say they don't use shimmer inks in fountain pens at all and only dip pens. And some people only use shimmer inks in all of their pens, no matter the nib size. I've personally used shimmer inks in extra fine nibs, and haven't had too much of an issue. It's all about cleaning afterwards and just knowing which inks have shimmer particles that you enjoy and that work well in your pens. So since all the glitter lives at the bottom of the bottle, you can fill a pen and not get the shimmer if you just really like the base color. I do that quite a bit. That's totally valid. But to get the shimmer into your pen, you definitely want to shake it so that those particles are dispersed into the ink. And I guess I should mention the name of this ink. I am recommending definitely a community fave. This is J. Urban Emerald of Chavour. And as you can see, this bottle is so beautiful. And it is very sturdy, but the color itself is a lovely teal with golden shimmer. It has some sheen. The ink is very saturated, very wet. The color is so rich looking. It almost is like a must-have ink in the community. You have to try it at least once. Let me write with it first. Okay, Emerald of Chivor has dried up. And can we see the shimmer here? There we go, and some sheen. So you can see this has all of our properties in there. We have some shading, it is subtle. We have some sheen, some metallic quality here. And then there is some gold shimmer in there as well. So very beautiful, very packed with ink properties. So from here, the sky's the limit. You can try lighter inks, you can try chromo shading inks, because you pretty much get the idea by this point how cleaning comes into effect once you add shimmer. And then when you get into the super sheeners and things that have a lot of sheen, you also need to consider your cleaning habits there a little more as well. So yeah, this is what I think here for the beginner fountain pen ink roadmap. Would love to hear what inks you're loving. I would love to hear from more experienced pen friends what your roadmaps would look like here for beginners. Let me know down in the comments. Be sure to like this video if you got value out of it, and subscribe for more pen, inks, planning, and journaling. I talked a bit about cleaning in this video, and I actually have a video about fountain pen tools for both swatching and cleaning. I'll leave that for you right here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a good time, and I'll catch you all in the next one.